Welcome to Best Picture This, where it is always Oscar season. I'm Mike.
And I'm Brian. In this show, we reevaluate every Best Picture nominee from the 21st century and decide whether to keep it or kick it from its Oscar pedestal.
But really, if we're following the logic of this week's movie and assume that a comet is barreling toward Earth, that would mean that any movie we keep is destined to be destroyed with everything else. So maybe
So
for
we
this
should
week,
kick it back out into outer space?
I think if we want to keep it, we should be kicking it so it's safe, right?
So is that like 2 rockets up?
I was trying to think of the most complicated thing, like your boots up, boots down, and I think I accomplished my task here.
Maybe.
In 2001, the nominees for Best Picture are Dune.
2021.
2021, the nominees for Best Picture are Dune, The Power of the Dog, Belfast, Coda, Drive My Car, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story, and today's movie, Don't Look Up, directed by Adam McKay. Here's the trailer.
This is not real. This is not real. This is not real. This isn't happening. Kate, tell me this isn't really happening.
I hear there's something you don't like the looks of.
We discovered a very large comet.
Oh, good for you.
It's headed directly towards Earth.
This comet is what we call a planet killer.
At this exact moment, I say we sit tight and assess.
Sit tight and assess?
Sit tight.
And then assess. The sit tight part comes first, then you gotta digest it. That's the assessment period.
This is the worst news in the history of humanity. He just blew us off.
What are we gonna do? We have to release the information.
So we just leak it.
Our guests today have made a pretty big discovery in space.
How big is this thing, though? Can it destroy my ex-wife's house? Is that possible?
There's a 100% chance that we're all going to die.
Kate?
Hey.
Well, the handsome astronomer can come back anytime, but the yelling lady, not so
Not so much.
We're gonna get the news out there, one way or another.
It's real and it's coming.
FBI! Jesus Christ, you could have just called me.
This comet contains $30 trillion worth of material.
What do trillions of dollars matter if we're all gonna die?
Oh, no, what if we're rich?
That would be terrible.
You guys discovered a comet? I have a tattoo of a shooting star on my back.
Oh, that's terrific. This could be a complete disaster.
This is already a disaster.
You know that girl from Live TV said we're all gonna die?
No.
Yo, bro! You'll never take me alive!
There it is! Giant comet! Barreling its way towards Earth! Can you see it?
I can't. My head is in a bag.
I did have the FBI put that bag over your head. They don't do that. The CIA does, but I made them do it.
You know, I had a feeling.
It's a good feeling, because that is what I did, and it was very funny and cool.
You're getting a good laugh out of that trailer. Okay.
Jonah Hill in this movie is so golden. So this movie, Don't Look Up, was nominated for Best Picture. Also for film editing, music, and Best Original Screenplay for McKay and David Sirota. It was made for $75 million, but only made $1.5 million in the box office. However, it was a Netflix movie, and it set a record for the most viewing hours in a single week on Netflix. It was the second week it came out. 152 million hours people spent watching this movie. And yet, first
of all, that's based off of Netflix telling us those numbers, right?
Well, that's actually Wikipedia reporting it. So I think
Netflix is the one releasing these numbers, so it's not like an independent study saying.
Maybe not.
Also, why break it into hours? Because if a movie is 2 hours long,
they also do minutes. They also do minutes.
It's dumb. It should be views.
No,
right?
it's because you can't. If you just turn on Don't Look Up for 5 minutes and then you turn it off, does that count as one, or does that like a not really?
I don't know.
That's where the minutes matter. The minutes definitely matter.
It seems like an overly complicated way of telling me how many times.
That's what Best Picture This is all about.
Box office, one ticket, equals X amount, done.
But box office, most likely, you're not going to pay $10, go in, watch it for 10 minutes, say you don't like it, and leave.
Yeah.
Netflix, you are definitely going to do that if you're not that into it.
So you're thinking that
more hours means people liked it that much.
You think that this stat is telling us that people are watching this movie multiple times?
No, I'm saying that when people, I think just it's saying like if somebody watched like the middle third of it, that counts as 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. 3/4 of an hour. If somebody watched the whole thing, that's 2 hours. So the total amount of time someone spent glued to the TV, this is the most anyone has ever been glued to a TV. This movie caused the most people to be glued to the TV the most.
According to the source that
Netflix.
Released this piece of media.
Probably Netflix reported it somewhere and Wikipedia scraped it off their website.
Mm-hmm. And
is this a conspiracy theory or something?
Because part of me,
what is wrong with
part
this?
of me doesn't really buy it because who's
Did
checking?
You not like this movie?
Who's checking?
Is that what you're getting
You're
to?
trying to skip past. This is the most important part of our
no,
conversation
it is not.
right here.
You're trying to justify that people spent too much time because you didn't like it. If you don't
Netflix
like this movie, you're in trouble.
Trying to get us to give it extra points because people would watch a whole movie start to finish.
Why would they select Don't Look Up as opposed to other movies? Why wouldn't they lie about Power of the Dog? The Power of the Dog got the most views. I don't know. Why would they try to fudge it?
I think Power of the Dog. It's not that's not a movie for
the
mass
masses,
consumption
for the normal person.
Yeah, but Don't Look Up's got laughs.
Look, Don't Look Up set a record for the most hours of viewership ever on Netflix in 1 week. I think that's
according to Netflix.
However, despite its great popularity on Netflix, it got a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, 49 on Metacritic. That is a solid rotten movie according to those measurements. Coming up in the show, we'll ask each other 3 questions. We'll talk trivia, and then we will decide if this belongs in the top 5/top 10 of 2021 based on the 3 or 4 movies we've watched from 2021. One thing I will say is that the movie did get much more positive reviews from scientists than it did from critics. So you know.
Okay. Does that count for more?
Question number 1. That counts as if a scientist watches Netflix, that counts for 2 minutes.
That counts for 2. I didn't expect us to get so heated before the first question, so I'm interested to see where this is going to go. So my first question to you is kind of a simple one.
Mm-hmm.
A, is this a comedy? Mm-hmm. And B, if it is, does the comedy strengthen or weaken the movie's message?
I think that it is a satire. So therefore, it's funny and it also has a message.
It's definitely a satire.
Yeah.
Full stop satire. I will agree with that.
So, I mean, satire typically is funny, poking fun at how seriously we're taking certain problems. This movie is poking fun at how we're not taking climate change seriously enough. That's kind of Adam McKay's, he said that in an interview. That's kind of what the purpose of the movie is.
Yeah.
So did I think it was funny? Yes. I laughed out loud many, many times throughout the movie, much more than most comedies that I have pretty much ever seen.
Okay. So about the movie's message, the weight of it, does the comedy strengthen or weaken what McKay is clearly trying to do in terms of making a point?
Well, I think that it's a good question. I mean, that question almost sounds like it is one guaranteed to elicit a golden take from me. That's why I'm stalling to try to come up with one. So if you want to make a point about climate change, we need to live in a more green society, it's probably not the most effective way to change someone's mind. Mm-hmm. It's also it's entertaining. I mean, they got all the movie stars. It's not a documentary. It's supposed to reach a broad audience, but is it thought-provoking? I think that it is thought-provoking in that it makes you question, why is it that our society has all these scientists saying, look, this is a big problem, and it's not in the headlines. In that sense, it is very effective in helping you in suggesting that you should think about that question. As far as getting people who are saying don't look up to actually look up, it won't do that.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. I will say first
that
I love the ambition here.
Of course.
I love the ambition. And I respect any movie that is trying to make me feel a handful of competing emotions all within like a 5-minute span. Good stuff. But tonally, I think this movie's a mess. I think it's kind of a mess.
Are you a climate denier? Climate change denier? Is that why you don't like it?
I love how a movie like this, it's like, well, if you don't like it, then you must not believe in climate change.
You must be.
So it is a comedy first, but the comedy leaves no room for interpretation of any kind. I think that
other than the comet is coming.
But where's the interpretation? I don't think there's ever a moment where McKay does not want us to get it, to get the point,
to get
his point that we're ignoring science.
It's not supposed to be complicated. It's a satire.
Oh, see, I don't agree. If that's the case, I think he would have made a 90-minute silly comedy where it has all these little funny bits in it that we can say, oh yes, I recognize real life in some respect on the screen here, and let's have a nice laugh at it. But this is not that. This has a lot of other drama going on. He's trying to make grand, capital I, important messages. But I have a big problem with it because in a 90-minute movie, you could have the wrong people be nothing but wrong. And that's fine because they're caricatures. But because this is trying to do more than that, I think it's a problem that like every single person in the presidential cabinet from the president down is like a complete irredeemable idiot. Every single person. And so like, how can we empathize or understand any of their motivations or what they're thinking at any time in the movie? We're just supposed to poke and laugh at them.
So first of all, that's where there's satire. But I think that it works because everybody gets sidetracked by little dumb things in the movie, even the scientists. Jennifer Lawrence is obsessed with snacks and how much they cost and how much they didn't cost.
Yeah.
That's an example, just one of many examples of how it's not just the buffoonery of other people.
Well, it is because those people are in the White House that are gypping her on the snacks.
But it's everybody. It's even them who get caught up in the pettiness of little things. We're all human, so we all do it. It's just that some people want to look up at the comet and some people don't want to look up at the comet. I think that everybody is a very human and flawed person. Of course, yes, the White House people, they're more caricatures.
So you think the White House people are human in this movie?
No, they're caricatures. I mean, they're set up to be, funny, and it's again. I don't know how else to say besides the satire. It's making fun of, the presidential refusal to take
leaders,
strong action.
People of authority.
Yeah, their refusal to take as strong action as it seems like the science suggests.
I think you got it right the first time when you said that McKay is not interested in pulling in people from the other side.
No, not at all.
This movie is preaching to the choir. And if you're not in the choir, you're going to hate this movie. And if you are in the choir, I think you're going to feel a little bit like, yeah, I know. I get it. I agree. Stop yelling at me.
Well, but then you have the human drama of certain of the characters. Leonardo DiCaprio has a complicated character arc, and Jennifer Lawrence has a not quite as but somewhat complicated character arc. Those are real people, and I think they provide some real heartfelt drama. I think especially toward the end, which we're not going to spoil it, but I think the ending is great as far as their story arcs go.
We'll talk more about the ending for sure.
Yeah,
later.
So anyway, I was so afraid that we would come in here and you would hate this movie because you're totally wrong. So here's my question. So the movie was announced in November 2019.
Okay.
It was delayed due to the pandemic. Do you think that the movie also became about the pandemic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
For sure.
And the other question I had was, do you think that it's attempting to win over some partisans? And I think we're both agreeing that it's not.
Absolutely no chance.
So here's a couple of negative reviews. This one's from the National Review, conservative publication, Kyle Smith. He wrote that the film, quote, expends 140 brain-injuriously unfunny minutes, propelling low-velocity spitballs at social media, Washington, tech moguls, Trumpism, and this detail feels thrown in at the last minute, anti-vaxxers. What a wonderfully creative review that is sort of hilarious. Now, here's the contrary to that, okay?
Okay.
This is what I loved, because when I read that, I was like, those are that guy is exactly who they're satirizing in the movie, and he doesn't seem to really get that. That's what I thought when I read that. And then I hear Nathan Robinson, editor of Current Affairs, believes that critics were not only missing the point of the film in important ways, but that the very way they discussed the film exemplified the problem that the film was trying to draw attention to. Some of the responses to the movie could have appeared in the movie itself. That's totally how I felt as I was reading some of the anti-reviews about the movie. It's like, okay, but if you're criticizing the movie, it's almost like you're saying, no, we have the right to not look up. That's what I feel like.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not you, but that's what I feel like some of the anti-critics were saying. And it just seemed to confirm the satire to me.
See,
I thought it was totally brilliantly done.
I think that is the danger, though, of making a movie from the perch of your high horse, like it seems like McKay is doing here.
It's over the top to the point that you don't really think Adam McKay is this smug. You don't think Adam McKay is like Jonah Hill?
I don't know. I mean,
is he Jonah Hill in this movie? No. He sees all of it.
He's not Jonah Hill, but Jonah Hill, it's like, how could a guy like that be in any position of leadership? And I think that there's no sort of...
The son of the president.
The perspective of the filmmaker seems very, very narrow to where it's almost like he doesn't believe that there's anybody intelligent in any position of authority anywhere except for these scientists who we're not paying attention to.
Do you think Adam McKay is trying to give an accurate, true-to-life window into the White House?
No, but
like Aaron Sorkin into the West Wing.
Of course not.
Totally not.
Of course not.
So he's not saying this is what the president really is like. He's taking the one little like I'm so politically motivated and so capitalistically driven that I'm going to try to ignore the comment. That's what he's trying to say, and I think that it's funny.
I think I would have appreciated it more if it was just funny. But the fact that it's so clear to me that he's trying to make bigger, important points.
It's okay if he's trying to make a point.
The payoffs don't work and they're unearned because there's never that sort of reversal where we can feel like, oh yeah, a revelation. There are no revelations here because the script doesn't change in its perspective of, who's right and who's wrong. It's like the scientists are right at the beginning, and I'm not saying that scientists are not right, but I'm saying in a narrative, when we're watching a dramatic arc, we want there to be some kind of change, and there isn't one if it's like these people are right in the beginning and everyone else is stupid, and then in the middle part of the movie, these people are still right, everyone else still stupid, and then at the end, guess what? They're right.
I think that it's more effective to me saying, as the movie goes on and more excuses are made for the comment, you realize like, man, that is sort of what our society is like in a narrow, through a narrow lens. Mm-hmm. That's totally what happened. Look at there's a big concert. There's all these different, this is what it's really like on a TV show where they're trying to make entertainment out of the news, So all these things are satirized. I don't think that he's I don't really think that he's villainizing. I think that he's satirizing. It's a big difference.
I don't know. Well, we'll talk more about the media with my question here.
Rob
Gonzalez. I know I'm probably mispronouncing that. He's from filmcritic.com. He says, in making Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick largely ignored what, quote, the media would say. He focused on the donut, the government, not the whole. McKay focuses on the whole, the media, and then decries the void. So I've seen some Don't Look Up truthers out there say that the only reason that this film isn't doing great, is because it criticizes the media, and the media are the ones reviewing the movie, so of course they don't like it. So where do you fall on that?
I think that some of the media probably didn't like being satirized in this way, and but that's okay. I didn't really, I mean, yeah, I think that it does poke fun at people. And if you're totally hardcore, you know, believing that way, then you won't like it too much. I don't think that the low reviews, they're too low to justify that. I mean, 56% means that a lot more than just some, you know, left-wing media people didn't like it.
And it's another conspiracy.
A lot of people didn't like it. Yeah. That's true.
I mean, the Cate Blanchett Tyler Perry show is infuriating. And like, why
did you not see any truth in it though?
Yes and
To
no.
me-
Why are they on that show? There are other shows. They're going to keep going back to this one
Because
where
they
these
go to
people
all of them.
are. Did we see them on other
No,
ones? Were
but-
they
but-
ever on C-SPAN?
But when people are in the spotlight like that, they go to all the shows, including those hyper entertainment type ones.
Mm-hmm.
You could see him going on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, but we don't see that though.
We don't.
In
But this one just stands in for all that. You know, the ridiculousness of it all. It's kind of standing in for all of it.
I don't think that it's the media either. I think it's just as much, if not more, how we consume media and then how the media conforms to meet those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is the biggest thing. And this is actually the part of the movie that I like the most and I felt the deepest. These social media interludes that he does where like everything turns into a meme.
Yep.
Everything turns into, you know, social media is not a platform to discuss anything, not to share ideas.
The Jennifer Lawrence memes of
Yes, it's the memification of everything. It just becomes a place where, you know, you could jump on trends and pick a side and then hate the other side and not listen to anything. Like that's kind of all it is. And so those interludes where we see all the different tweets popping up and all the different videos and all the different people acting like they're concerned or acting outraged, I felt an existential dread watching those.
When I'm in the media, small newspaper, so it's not really like this exactly, but in some ways it totally is. We'll post a story about, say, you know, the pandemic, and before I hit post, I know what the comments are going to be.
Yep.
They're going to be like, that's Biden and the Chinese, ... blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Like, you're not even going to read the story. You don't care what the scientists had to say. So to me, it was almost like a little cathartic to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my second question.
Okay.
This is only the second widely reviewed film on Rotten Tomatoes with a rotten rating.
The second widely reviewed
To win Best Picture nomination.
Oh, okay.
There's plenty of rotten
this
movies.
doesn't make any sense. Okay, I got you.
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, 2011, was the only other Best Picture nominee to get a rotten rating.
Wow. Okay.
So how did this get nominated? That's my question. Try to imagine what someone who likes it would think.
Well, I think part of it is that we are nominating, 9, 10 movies now instead of 5.
Right.
I think if this was in the days of 5, this movie wouldn't have come through.
Okay.
That's one thing.
It's been like that for 13 years now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I mean, it is a tough question. I don't think that this movie is irredeemable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's got nothing going for it. I just think that tonally it misses the mark. But there are moments in it that really hit hard. And I want to talk about the ending next because I think the ending is pretty powerful and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it's the urgency of it. You know, it's a big cultural issue. It's something that is timely right now. And if you are on board and you laugh a little bit and you agree and you feel something, maybe that's the combination. I don't know.
Maybe the Academy is very much aligned with Adam McKay's politics.
Those liberals.
I know, terrible.
Unbelievable.
So David Rooney of Hollywood Reporter called it insufferably smug satire. Dr. Strangelove, it ain't. I also thought a lot about Dr. Strangelove. In my opinion, this is like on that family tree and does well on the family tree. I mean, it's hard to compare to Dr. Strangelove with all the reverence that we have for it. Richard Roper of Chicago Sun-Times gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. The volume remains at 11, and some tone changes might have effectively carried the day. I thought there were tone changes. But question 3.
But a 2.5 star, that doesn't mean he hated it.
That still gave him a thumbs up.
Yeah.
It was in the plus 56, not the minus, to make it rotten.
Okay. So Max Weiss, Baltimore Magazine, he says, ultimately, don't
Is this going to spoilers now or no?
Oh, I forgot about
we
the
should tell
spoilers.
people.
Yes, this is going to go into spoilers.
Although it probably isn't too big of a surprise of a spoiler.
Yeah, it's kind of what the movie's about.
I have quasi-spoiler in my third question as well.
All right, so he says, ultimately, Don't Look Up is more than just mean-spirited and smug. Here's that word again. It's aggressively those things. That is, until the sentimental coda. So let's talk about that ending, because it's a departure from the rest of the film.
Definitely.
We have this sort of makeshift family of scientists, DiCaprio's real relatives, and a few friends around a dinner table. And there's a prayer, they eat and laugh, and then they try to pretend that everything is normal minutes before the comet collides.
Did that scene
Earth.
work for you?
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I like the scene a lot.
I love the camera work. There's a little weird special effect going on. It's good.
So react.
I loved the ending. I actually thought it was sort of a return to the earnestness of the beginning, which has a little bit of jokery with like some text stuff on the cover and things like on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
But basically at the beginning, it's Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence discovering the comet, and they are like terrified, legitimately scared. And it's only when they then start sharing it with other people that it kind of goes wild. But the ending where Timothée Chalamet is saying this prayer, and it's like such poetry, and then someone says, wow, that's really poetic, or something like that.
Yeah, you got some prayer game.
Yeah. And they're sort of like, what, I mean, it's such like, it's such, it could have been so sentimental, but it wasn't to me. It was like when they really believe that the world is coming to an end, and they're putting their hands around the table and praying, even though none of them really believe in God, maybe except for him.
Yeah.
But they're like, you know what? This still kind of feels right to do this, even though I'm not even religious. I thought that was a really interesting comment on those people. And all the emotion there worked well for me. All of Leo's emotions throughout the movie worked well for me.
Yeah, and we get this sort of montage of people around the world watching and drinking and sleeping together. And there's like all these different things. You get all these flashes of sort of feeling and visuals, and it's patient and it's quiet. Mm-hmm. It's the best part of the movie, I think, because you get this sense of it's mournful on the one hand, but there's also a ton of humanity, and I just can't see any humanity in like most of the rest of this, before
it's
this
satire,
sequence.
Man. It's satire. You don't have to see the humanity and it's theoretical, not emotional. The humanity in it.
If you say so. Would you eat dinner with your family if a comet's coming, or would you find something?
I mean, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
what else would you do?
I do like a dinner. I
go
would probably
shoot off a firework or something. I don't know what you would do.
That's like the most exciting thing you could think of. I'm going to shoot off a single firework.
Maybe 2 firecrackers. My third question. This one could open up an entire huge can of worms that we've been sort of dancing around in episodes multiple times throughout. I watched this movie edited. There was a big black chunk that was not in the movie, and I believe mostly it was nudity, but I don't really know.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I didn't see this part of Meryl Streep showing her rear end in the movie.
I don't remember that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, according to what I read about it, I looked it up because of what Leonardo DiCaprio said about the scene. According to Adam McKay, this is an interview in New York Magazine, Meryl Streep seemed unfazed by her cheeky cameo, meaning butt cheeky cameo, just to clarify.
Yep.
She is fearless, McKay told The Guardian. She didn't even blink. She didn't even bring it up. Okay, so she was okay with it, according to what she said to Adam McKay. But you know who had a problem with it? McKay continued, Leo. Leo just views Meryl as film royalty, although maybe royalty is not a compliment, but as such a special figure in the history of film, which, how could you argue against that?
Yeah.
So McKay goes on to say, he didn't like seeing her with the lower back tattoo, walking for a second naked. He said something to me like, do you really need to show that? And I was like, it's President Orlean. It's not Meryl Streep, unquote.
Yeah.
So this just seems so hypocritical for Leonardo DiCaprio to say, wait a minute, Meryl Streep is royalty. She's revered. She's the queen of cinema, the art form. We can't let her be naked in a movie.
we have to protect and censor our women. They can't handle themselves. Is this
No,
where you're going with
it's
this?
like, but then what about everybody else who's naked in all the movies? What about all the people who aren't film royalty, who might be sort of uncomfortable with it, but like, I guess I'll kind of go along with it because I'm getting this paycheck, and maybe a lot of them are fine with it. But why do you think Leo, trying to get into his mind, it's speculation, why does Leo, is he implying that it's kind of fine for directors to put other people, have them be nude, but we don't really want to ask Meryl Streep to do it?
I don't know. I mean, that character is an idiot, and that would be like the height of her idiocy. So I maybe it's just like, oh God, seeing Meryl stoop so low, even though it's for her character.
The fact that it's Meryl Streep makes like the fact that we know who Meryl Streep is makes a difference.
It's like when we see Judi Dench, she's like always playing somebody who's very buttoned up and like royal and very like, stone face. You don't want to see her do something gauche, not something untoward. Maybe it's just that. I don't know, but honestly, I'm so desensitized with these things. I don't even remember that scene. So it kind of shows you how important I think it is. In the moment, I noticed it. I probably felt something, but not enough to care. And if she doesn't care, then...
One desensitized viewer, or one sensitized viewer still remains. I think it's very hypocritical and just kind of shows the... I don't know. Hollywood is so much more okay with it, but even people in Hollywood, I think, question it more than they're willing to say in a logical way. I mean, Leo's challenging it, but his reasoning doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know if it's because she's older now, or if there's a little
we don't want to see an
subconscious
old Meryl Streep, but only
almost
Meryl
like
Streep
because
butt.
she can't take care of herself now. There's not as much dignity in it. But I'm curious if
I
you
don't
would
know.
have say the same thing about a male Hollywood royalty star. If Michael Caine is doing it,
it could be the male female protecting thing, but I don't know. Trivia: Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi. In this movie, they did release a song called "Just Look Up" to promote the film. Chicxulub was mentioned by Kate DiBiase, Jennifer Lawrence's character, which was possibly the dinosaur killer. It's also a great short story by T.C. Boyle. Jennifer Lawrence filmed most of her scenes with a broken tooth, but because of the pandemic, she couldn't get it fixed, so the missing tooth was added in post-production. One of the most impressive special effects.
Oh yeah,
I would say, of the movie.
Definitely.
Keep
Gasoline.
it or kick it. It's a clear keep for me. It's I think it's probably ranks above Dune, even though I liked Dune quite a bit.
I'll read you a review that a line that summarizes
Just
my
say
my
kick
thoughts.
it. We're out of time.
In the end, McKay isn't doing much more in this movie than yelling at us, but then we do deserve it, and that is a positive review. It's kind of where I land on this thing. I'm
top 10.
I don't know.
Did you laugh?
Top 10. I did laugh.
Did you laugh more at this than School of Rock?
No.
I did.
No. But I think I'm kind of the mind that like every movie is worth watching. So it's kind of a low bar for me. But I think that this, especially watching it during a pandemic, I think that it's like that adds a little extra timeliness to it. And I do think that it is worth watching, even though I don't think that it works a lot of the time.
In the next episode, we talk about Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's remake of 1947, revisiting film noir.
Find us at bestpicturethis.com, on Spotify, Apple, or wherever else you listen. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at Best Picture This. And for 16 years of golden takes, head over to Letterboxd/Mike Cavalieri.
Visit patreon.com/bestpicturethis to choose a bonus episode.
Thanks to WNZF and the illustrious Mark Gilliland for producing. And also please remember to rate, review, and subscribe.
Thanks for listening to Best Picture This, the low-velocity spitball of film criticism.
Nice.